would take a moment and try to be true. It is but a moment passing through. Rest of the time, it's just you being you. Getting ahead of the strife, going through the motions, emotions of life. I'd rather be alone than alone in love. Be the master down below, then come tumbling
down. What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy, Mr. Square Town. Welcome to Square Town Talk. I am your host, and today we are having an interview with South African singer-songwriter Luna Paige. Right now we're having some technical difficulties, so she'll be checking in momentarily. But in the meantime, I'm gonna give you a little bit of her bio. So Luna has many albums to her name. Her entry into the music industry kicked off in '99 with the debut release of one of 5 female musicians who contributed musically to the album Eve, Woman in Garden of Song. At barely 19, Luna consequently shared company at the stage with singers Lesley Rae-Dowling, Laurinda Hofmeyr, Nicole Holm, Eugenie Grobler. And then it says, after that, she launched her first EP by the name of Luna in 2003. Her full-length album, Missing Pieces, was released in '05, after which she released 2 more English albums, Wonderful Life and Borders and Beyond, in '09 and in 2014. Paige not only wrote in English, but also in Afrikaans. Her arrangements in the FAK song Val O Caroline was recorded and filmed at the invitation of Rocco D. Villiers for KeekNet. And then Luna was, okay, let's see if she's here. Okay, let's try this again. Are you here? Oh, I still can't hear you for some reason. You gotta love technology, y'all. You gotta love technology. We've been trying. I still can't hear her. Let's see, still can't. Okay, she's gonna try one more thing and then she'll be back with us. One more thing. But yeah, she's multi-talented singer-songwriter from South Africa. I'm excited to have her on the show today. This will be my 3rd day doing the shows in Philly. That's why I'm representing the Philly. Don't get it twisted. It's always KC, but I'm representing Philly this week. And I'm happy to have her on. So she's gonna try that. And in the meantime, I will just talk to you all. I've been excited about these shows. I got several shows lined up for the month of May for women in entertainment. I want to contribute this month and dedicate this month to women in the industry, women that are related to the industry, whether it be music, television, whether it be a creative, a comedian, actor, actress, so forth. So we're gonna, that's what we're doing. We're doing it all this month. And then going into June and the summer, that's when we'll start just doing everybody that's related to all kind of other things. So tap in with me, make sure you can hit me on any of the platforms, inbox. I'm on everything. You can Google, you can hit me up in my email, but tap in if you're interested in getting some type of exposure on my platform. So let's see. Let me see if she is ready. Okay, yeah. So yesterday, if you haven't already checked out the interview with Annalise Harmon, super successful global music executive out of NYC, who now lives in London, has been living there for over 30 years. You know, I was really shocked and surprised how connected she was. I knew that she was connected, but I didn't know that she was that connected. Anytime, I mean, she was doing parties for Public Enemy, you know, 35, 40 years ago. And she just is well connected. She contributed to the new documentary for Run DMC, not Run DMC, for it's called Mixtape, that has a lot of hip hop, a lot of information on hip hop, a lot of hip hop celebrities that are starring in it. But yeah, it was a good time. We had a good conversation, and I hope to have another one. But yeah, she is well connected, and she worked for Def Jam. She was in the fashion industry. She's been in the film industry. And yeah, I was blessed to be able to sit down and talk to her, and her give me a moment of her time. Okay, no video feed. Let's see if we got it this time. Uh-oh, what just happened? Okay, let's see if we got it this time. Three times. Oh,
I do that.
there you go. Okay, there you go. Now we in there. Yeah, I can hear you and everything. Yeah.
Okay, so I decided to use my phone because my laptop for some reason is not working.
Okay, that's all right. That works too. I'm good with that. Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to our show.
I can make my video in landscape if you'd prefer that.
Oh, I can do it anyway. However, whichever way you want to do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
You just.
Oh, no, let me stick to that. Let me stick to
yeah.
that.
Okay. All right. You like it this way or you want it this way?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. So welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you. We're glad to have you. This, like I told you before, the show is broadcast on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and LinkedIn. So let's get down to it. So you're from South Africa. What part of South Africa are you from?
So I live in the Western Cape in a town called Melkbosstrand, which is about 30 minutes from Cape Town.
Okay. And so how did you decide that you wanted a career in music?
I think it happened by accident, you know. I started writing songs when I was in high school, but it wasn't. I always wanted to sing, I guess, deep down, but I went to university like many of my friends did, decided to go get a degree. But whilst at university, I mean, university is that great place where you get to discover yourself and meet people who might be a little bit like you. So I discovered poetry evenings at a theater that was in my student town, and I performed some of the songs there, and that's how I was discovered in a way, you know. The guy doing the sound ended up working at a recording studio, so that's how I got recognized, or seen rather.
Yeah. So, okay, going into that, and so you're from Western Cape. Is that Cape Town? Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Western.
I've seen that before.
Yeah, the Western Cape is pretty big. It spans over a large area, and Cape Town's the capital, which is at the southern west point, you know. But so I live in a small town. Well, not that small, but it used to be a small fisherman's town, and now it's just another development leading up to Cape Town. But it used to be a small fisherman's town, half an hour's drive. Yes.
I hear it's beautiful out there. I hear it's really beautiful. I have a friend that's in Johannesburg. He's one of the producers that I work with, and I hear it's just like incredibly amazing out there. So how is the music scene in your area of South Africa?
Well, I'd say, it's interesting. I mean, I guess it's maybe due to our history, So I sometimes feel that our music industry is in a big way, still quite segregated. I don't know how I'd say it any other way, but there are different genres, and there and it's very much based still on ethnicity. It's not always, but a lot in a way. So the genre that I perform in actually has a very perceived small following in my country, because due to the fact that it sort of caters, it's perceived to cater for a specific market, which it's not. I mean, music is supposed to go across borders. So we've got a very vibrant music industry, depending on which pocket you're in. If you're in the Afrikaans music scene, as you can hear, I've got an accent, so I'm actually I'm actually an Afrikaans person, but yes, but I started writing in English because I wasn't really fond of what I heard in Afrikaans when I was a young girl. Things have changed, of course, so there's a vast array of music in Afrikaans, different genres, but I lean sort of more to the English market, which is a challenge, because then you're sort of competing with the whole world, whilst you could be a big fish in a small pond if you just sing in your own language. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I understand. I completely understand.
Yes, but so there are lots of musicians, lots of bands, extremely incredible artistry and talent in this country. Sometimes it feels like you are at the most southern tip of Africa.
Right.
It is hard. It's expensive for us to travel to different parts of the world to show what we can do. Thank goodness for the internet, but still traveling and performing in other countries is really something difficult. So we're very much in this place where we have to make it happen. Yes.
Well, and just looking at your video that I showcased before you came on, it's incredible, the visual of it. I watched the whole thing, and of course our viewers only seen bits and pieces of it, but just the candlelights and the visuals and stuff like that, that's incredible. And I know just by talking to some of the other artists and musicians in South Africa that, like you said, parts of the world videos cost a lot more than they would cost in the United States. So so I'll just kudos for that, because I mean the video had a lot more to it than most videos I've seen, because a lot of them, they just kind of stick to the script and they just kind of get to the basics of it. But you were in you were in the tub and with the candlelight, and you were in the garden, and stuff like that. So I appreciate that, because because you put a story to it.
Yeah, and I was lucky. It's probably quite obvious that there was a budget involved, a tiny budget. So, but I was lucky to work with a young filmmaker who works for a record label, who does music videos in a totally different genre, not my genre at all. But we spoke about it, and she's this creative, beautiful girl, and I said to her, listen, tight budget, but I don't want a typical storyline. I want imagery and symbolism, and let's just try and make it look like something. But it's hard. I mean, the one positive, if you have a song that works in nature, this place is the best place to make music videos, because you just need a good camera, and then nature does its work for you, But
I can imagine.
There's another my Afrikaans video there. Luckily the song was about nature, so we could just go in, like literally a half an hour out of Stellenbosch, which is where I studied and lived for the past 20 years before I came back home. That is just eye candy wherever you go. It's the most beautiful mountains. And so, yeah, so she and I just went into a little guest house. I booked it for the weekend. I chose this quaint guest house, and we used that whole space to shoot the video.
That's smart. Yeah, that's smart. That's a good idea. I've never thought about just renting like an Airbnb or something like that and doing a video out of, but that's a good idea. I like that. So who have been your influences in music? Like, who contributed to you and the way you write and the way you sing? And, you know, who did you look up to coming up in music?
As a young girl, I listened to my mother's LPs, which were, I used to listen to them, and there was musicians like Paul Simon was there, Rodriguez. I don't know if you know Rodriguez. That interesting. You must go watch. You must go watch on. I think it's on Netflix. It used to be there. A film called Sugar Man, a documentary, which was about this. Yes, and it's about this man. He's not South African. I forget now, my word. Where did he live? And he was this sort of a Bob Dylan figure, but unknown to the world in a way. There were a couple of people who knew of him, but he became super duper famous in South Africa. And he was working literally still working as a laborer, and found out that he's selling a lot of records in South Africa. And then later in life, he sort of was this cult figure for, especially in that short period, amongst the white music people who didn't want to go along with apartheid anymore. There was sort of this movement of musicians who were rebelling, and people who used music as a way to protest, and they all loved Rodriguez. So you must go check that documentary. Yeah, so I listened a lot to him as a kid, and then a bit later it was Joni Mitchell. I loved Tori Amos, Alanis Morissette when I was a teenager, and then later as an adult, whilst being a musician, I did a show where I sort of want to pay homage to the women in blues, because I found it extremely frustrating, that whenever I go to a blues festival, I just always saw a bunch of men on the stage, and I just heard all of this music by male blues artists, and then I was just thought there must be a lot of women. And then I started doing research with a friend of mine, and we put together a show called Her Blues, and we literally took the female artists from the late 1800s up until today, and I realized, geez, those women were actually the women who paved the way for all women today who grace the stages. After that, I started finding myself singing different, because I had to learn the songs and I had to start singing differently. And it's amazing how it affected my songwriting. It affected the way I sang my songs, even previous recordings. And it actually led to this song, I'd Rather Be Alone, that you played now, which has a bit of a blues undertone. And and it gave me guts to start writing about things that bother me as well, because I was always a bit apprehensive of whether I should do that or not. And then I realized, but those women weren't afraid to speak their minds.
Right.
Yeah,
you got to be vocal. That's what I call it, vocal, being vocal. Sometimes it hurts people's feelings, but the truth hurts. And sometimes most times we have to be vocal. That's what I believe in. Absolutely. Yes. So tell us about, let's start with the project that you did in Missing Pieces. Let's start with that. Even though that wasn't your first project, let's let's go into that one, because you did say that you started off writing a certain way and then you kind of transitioned into writing another way. So that's why I said Missing Pieces started in '05. It looks like was released in '05. So let's go with that one.
Well, I was 25 years old. It was my first full-length album. The previous one was the EP when I was 23. And I was still very, how can I put it, innocent in a way, and very much influenced by people outside of me. So, and I was also in that phase where I wrote a lot of songs without thinking. They just came out. That's what happens in your 20s, I guess.
Yeah,
but then, yes, it gets harder. And when you start doing it professionally, you become so critical of it. But in your 20s, it's just a free form thing. So yeah, I was in the midst. I call it my Adele, my breakup album, because it was literally one long breakup album. And I wish, in hindsight, that I recorded it the way that I felt it. It was a beautifully produced album, make no mistake. But I think I wasn't enough myself, if you know what I mean. But there are some great, beautiful songs, ballads, but as I said, breakup albums, sort of contemporary pop vibes. I still to this day play some of those songs. People still request those songs, and I think if someone went through a lone moment or a breakup, they would like that album.
Yeah. Everybody can relate to those type of things when you're going through that, most definitely.
Yes.
So, and now going into, let's see, Borders and Beyond. It seems like just by reading your bio, a lot of the names of your albums, they have like meaning to them. Like a lot of times people, the song or the album title is different. And it's like, sometimes you don't understand, like, I wonder what this album is going to be about. But like with you, it looks like Wonderful Life, Borders and Beyond, and what was the other one? Missing Pieces, Restless Soul, stuff like that. You put meaning to the title. So tell us a little bit about Borders and Beyond.
Yeah, so I mean, I noticed, some people go into music because they want to be famous or they want to grace big stages and the glitz and the glamour. I had to ask myself at some stage, why am I doing this? And I realized I do it because it's how I process life. It's how I stay sane, to be honest, is to write. That's where it starts. So for me, when I write songs and I come to the point where I have to now put it together, in the olden days when we made albums, I'm saying olden days, but people think it's strange. It's terrible because I like the idea of an album for the simple reason that I see it as a timestamp of thinking for a while, because I saw it out of the previous albums. When I put it together and we recorded it and we went into studio, I would notice, but there's always a theme from song 1 to song 12 or 13. And clearly it's something that's been going on in my head, things that I've been observing or feeling. And quite often you notice when you look at what other artists are releasing in that same time, they're playing with the same things. So we do sometimes tend to capture whatever is going on around us, and nothing that we capture is unique. It's already there. We just have the ability to feel it and process it. So that's why, yes, my albums are themed. And I mean, one could even go so far, say, if you listen to all of them in order, you'll have a pretty good idea of what went on in my life. But,
right. It's like a book. Your album's a book.
But I also always say, you start writing a song, it comes from you or a personal experience or an observation. but by the time it's done, it's not about you anymore. It's become something else, and it's become everybody's song. It's sort of only yours while you're busy with it. Once you're done, it's not yours anymore. It's weird.
Yes, everybody's. Yeah, it's everybody's song. But that's what partly I would say that's what us as musicians do it for. Even though it starts off being about us, it ends up contributing to other people's lives. It might help somebody, it might get them out of a situation. Because, like the song that you said, I'd rather be alone, it's like, okay, what if a person, let's say a woman, is in an abusive relationship and she thinks that she has to hold on for some reason, and that she listens to your song and she realizes that, no, I don't have to hold on. I could actually get away from this situation. I'm better than this, and so forth. So yeah, when we write these songs, because I wrote songs younger when I used to be a musician where, like you said, it started off just writing. It's like practicing, practicing. Like I would use like shooting hoops or warming up, but then you're preparing for the actual game, which, as a youngster and as in your early 20s, you were writing songs just because, and that would be practicing. But eventually now, as you're older, more groomed and mature, now you're preparing for the game. You're there, you're in the game, you can play the game, you succeed in the game. And that means a lot. But where I was going with is that I used to write songs like that too, just with no meaning. And then eventually later on, you notice from people that listen to your music that they understand you more because you've matured as a songwriter.
Yes,
right?
and ultimately what you want is you want an audience member to hear themselves in the song. If it that makes me happy, because I mean, in the end of the day, if I were to perform a song and nobody relates to it, then I should not be on the stage.
Right. Yeah. Well, because as a performer, like with you and how I used to be, they listen to it one time, and it's like, okay, whatever. You performed it, they listen to it. But how about the people that come to you and tell you, I listen to that song all the time. Luna, I listen to your song all the time. You get more value out of it because you're like, okay, that song means something to that person versus just listening to it the first time I performed it or the first time they listened to my album, and so forth. So music is a wonderful thing. It's therapy. It does a lot for us. It helps us in certain situations. But going into performing, tell us about some of your cool performances and who you've graced the stage with.
Well, as I said, I'm here in South Africa, and so I have been working in South Africa for a very long time, and also to a pretty niche audience. So I've been focusing a lot of my attention for a long time, sort of trying to sort of break the scene as a young girl, and listening to too many people about what I should do to make that happen, especially in a very limited sort of genre pool and the thing about my music, I don't sing or perform in a specific genre. The song sort of negates that's why I call myself a singer-songwriter. Then I sing a country song, then it's a pop song, then it's a blues song, then it's a jazzy song, then it's a folk song. Anyway, so I sort of found my niche in the music theatre scene because I'm a good storyteller. So I realized that is where I get my audience to engage with me, is when I can give them some insight into the songs. And I enjoy writing as well, so I would write like binding texts and put together shows, and eventually that led to me sort of collaborating with other artists in South Africa who make music in other genres than me, because I found I got bored with myself.
You got bored. Yeah. That happens.
And when you start sounding the same all the time, and you sort of, the one plus, I guess, of not being super duper famous in a specific genre is that you can actually morph into something else. You can play around. Yeah, because I spoke to one of I wrote these articles for an online publication, and I interviewed a couple of artists in South Africa that I admire, and we spoke about authenticity. And one of them's called David Kramer, and he's a music theater writer, songwriter, a legend in South Africa.
I've heard of him. Yeah, I've heard of him.
And he said, he's diverse array of music, but he's known for certain specific, especially in the Afrikaans, and that people keep wanting to hear. And we spoke about, now what do you do when you progress or musically, or you want to challenge and move into a different direction? How do you do that without upsetting your fans?
Right.
And so I think I'm lucky in that way, that my fans have seen me develop and never stick to the program. So
you just change it up every time, huh?
I've got the luxury of doing that, yes. So I've worked with many artists, but I don't know if your audience will know them. They are South African singer-songwriters who do rapping in Afrikaans, or African-inspired music, or folk music, world music artists, singer-songwriters. It's a whole array. From an international perspective, never shared the stage with a major international act. I've worked with had the privilege of doing BVs for the UK band Strawbs when they came to South Africa. Not old, that's the wrong word, but from the 70s and 80s rock band. And then they came to record an album in South Africa, and I did some vocals for them and performed with them. Who else? Wow. Finley Quay, I don't know, he came to South Africa. But it's like, one wants to travel.
I mean,
you want to get on a plane.
Right. Have you ever been to America? Have you ever been to the United States?
No, I've never been there. In 2019, since 2013 till 2019, I worked pretty hard at establishing a bit of a contact network in Netherlands, and that is due because the Netherlands have quite an interest in the Afrikaans language, and due to, I guess, the post-colonial ties between the Dutch and South Africa, or I think they have a sort of an interesting interest, and the Afrikaans is very similar. It stems from Dutch language. So when you go and perform there in Afrikaans, the people somehow are strangely connected to it because they recognize the words, and so I've done that. I've traveled to Netherlands and Belgium, and I took a music theater production there that I developed. It was like a 5-year project, which was about it was about two poets from South Africa they were quite renowned in the 60s in South Africa, part of the movement of writers who protested against apartheid, and sort of had their own community of writing and sort of pushed the boundaries a bit. And it was these two writers, Ingrid Jonker, who was passed at a young age, and André Pebrink, who was also the first writer whose work was translated into numerous languages across the world. So we did a show about their love relationship, and they literally wrote this thick book of love letters to each other over a 2-year period. So me and two others, yeah, it was quite hectic to read it, and they were 27 years old, and I read their language and the way they philosophize actually puts us to shame today, the way we write.
I bet.
But anyway, so that was a beautiful show. We actually got nominated for the album for a South African Music Award as well, because the music was really interesting and stunning, and we took that to the Netherlands. And I'm definitely now I'm going to go travel for 3 months in Europe on the 5th of June. Yes, and the whole idea to go and meet musicians and network a bit, pick up the leads that I had to leave during COVID, because we went there in 2019, established a cool touring circuit, got the cool contacts, and COVID struck. Jeez.
Yeah, gotta love and hate COVID. We have to love and hate COVID. Oh man.
But maybe, I tell myself timing is a very important thing. And the pandemic definitely led, in my case, to a lot of introspection and growth, even, I'd say, as a songwriter and a performer. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe it's okay if it only happens now, So, and then I thought to myself, I must go to America after that. So I'm first going to tour a bit and travel, explore, get some cool meetings in Europe, see what happens, and then maybe visit America.
That's a good idea. I don't blame you on going back to Europe, because I want to go to Europe myself. I hear it's beautiful over there, but when you get a chance, most definitely come to the States. So the last question that I would ask for it's a 2-part question. One would be, what type of advice would you give to anyone, especially from your country, who was starting out as a singer-songwriter, about the challenges you've had and what to do, like how you would do it if you were to start all over again? That would be number one. And then the other part's easy. Like, what do you have outside of you going to Europe? What type of music do you have in store for the next year or so?
Okay, well, with regards to young people, I think I almost feel that the advice that I would have would be dated, because there's so much has changed on a digital level for young people, I think maybe they can teach me a couple of things. But I think on a personal or inward level, it would be to trust your talent and to not, to choose who you listen to, and to base that on trust and credibility, and then to only listen to those people, and also allow yourself to process the information and then make decisions about it, and not just take it at face value, and then to listen. And I think to always believe that you can be better, and never think that you've arrived, that you are now really amazing. To always look for that one person or two people who are in a better place or are doing something that you would like to do, and observe them and learn from them. Even, you can even ask them to mentor you if you want. I think we are so, if there's one thing that I'd realized, especially during the pandemic, is that everybody is sort of trying to hide the fact when they are struggling. And during the pandemic, it was so nice to see people actually saying how it's going, and to realize that you are actually part of the community. Because in that sense, the social media platform can be quite cruel if it if it keeps looking as if it's going really well with everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that for me is like finding a tribe of artists that you trust and who you can be honest with and not feel that it would reflect bad on you, because you might be surprised how they will support you and also how you can support them. And so that, I think that would be my thing.
Yeah.
And then my own music, I'd say, well, my whole idea is I almost felt like these two albums, because I released two albums at once this year after 10 years of not releasing a full-length album, besides that one that I did with the two other colleagues. So it almost felt like the shedding of the last 10 years of putting out something, acknowledging that this is what happened. And there's also a bit of a transition into something new. There's stylistically, I started dabbling in the English album, especially with new sounds. There's a sort of a ska reggae-ish song. There's more rocky. The songs with more like balls almost. You know. So I'm curious to see what happens. I really want to, whilst I'm traveling, collaborate with artists from Europe. I literally had all my music put into sheet music, so if I get there and I meet musicians, I can say, yes, my music, let's play, let's see what comes out. I'm taking a little travel guitar with me, and I'm going to walk the Camino for a section in Spain that for 15 days. I'm going to walk almost 300 kilometers. So my whole idea is to write a song after every day, see what comes out there.
Oh man!
So I'm curious to see what happens, and I'll be sort of sharing my thoughts and my travels and experiences whilst traveling. And finally, I'm also very passionate about the concept of art facilitating change. So I used to be a social worker, and I've worked in welfare development programs. So I really want to go and connect as well with artists who are using art to build community, whether it be poetry, theater, music, and to see how they do it in Europe. Maybe just observe, chat a bit about it, because I feel that in my country we need community building. We are doing pretty well, I think, actually, in light of our history. And in comparison to what's happening in other parts of the world, I think people can really come and learn a bit from the way that we manage to deal with diversity. But I do still think we need a lot more work to be done, and not only about that, but about everything that's happening around us in the world, and just to getting communities to stand together for a better everything in South Africa. So I want to come back with some cool ideas of how we can develop projects to really help open up conversation about things other than race, because we have other problems that we need to start tackling as a nation.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's powerful right there. Well, I just want to thank you before I ask my last question. I want to thank you for being a part of this broadcast and this interview. I think there's, I've never interviewed anybody from South Africa, but I've always wanted to go and kind of pick you guys' brain on how things go over there. But just by interviewing you and hearing how things are, I'm real interested of going over there. I actually got asked to speak at a conference in South Africa next year. And we're still working on it, but I may possibly be in South Africa next year for a conference. So we'll see how that goes. But
If you come, you must make contact, and I'll show you around here in Cape Town.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely, yeah. I'm excited too. Yeah, it was shout out to Thondo. His name is Thondo. He invited me out to one of the songwriting and music workshops. So we'll see what happens, but it'll be a cool opportunity. But yeah, I do want to thank you for coming on the show and giving us this opportunity. The last thing I would ask is, where can our listeners and viewers find you on social media?
Yes, so I've got a website, lunapage.com, and I say that because all of my it branches out from there, you know. So if you forget, then that it's just easy. It's lunapage.com. But I'm everywhere. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, X. I don't know. Do you call it X or Twitter? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
And
I still
yeah,
call it Twitter. Yeah. Mhm.
no, because you still type in Twitter, right? But I'm
Uh-huh.
there, and I started a TikTok page, but
Oh,
I'm
okay.
going to. I'm not going to be dancing on a beach or something, but who knows?
Right, right.
You know,
Yeah.
'cause I'm going to dedicate that to my travels so people can follow me there and see what I'm up to while I'm in Spain. I'm going to go to Spain, Italy. I'm going to go
Mm,
to Portugal, Greece, and Netherlands, of course. So, but I'm gonna, do everything I've always wanted to do, bucket list, and meet interesting, creative people, and share whatever I come across. Yes. And I'll
yeah.
share the new songs. My idea is to sort of share the songs as I write them and see what people think
Uh-huh.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. That sounds amazing. Well, yeah, like I said, I want to thank you again. And I want to thank all the listeners and viewers that tuned in and that will be tuning in to this broadcast. But thanks again. And like she said, lunapage.com. That's LunaPaige.com. That's where you can check her out at. That's the easiest way to check her out. So Luna, thanks again. And we will talk soon. And hopefully we can recap in a year from now about your trip and your journey through music and through Europe. Okay.
Yes, that would be great.
All right. Well, we will talk soon. All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks for
Bye.
tuning in. Uh-huh.